Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Nacho Problems, where we turn ordinary recipes into extraordinary nachos. I'm Nacho Queen, but you can call me M. We're back in the Middle East on our world tour because this week we're making Qatayef Nachos. Qatayef is an Arabic dessert that's kind of like a pancake that's been folded in half, stuffed with cheese and nuts, and then deep fried and served with a sweet syrup glaze. To be honest, it looks divine. So let's get started. Step 1. The chips. The Qatayef will be our chips. Now, I had initially planned to make a full batch, but my blender couldn't hold that much, so I've reduced all the amounts by half of what is shown here. It still made a lot, but I used 1½ cups all-purpose flour, 3/4 cup semolina flour, 3/4 cup milk, 1½ teaspoons baking powder, 2½ tablespoons sugar divided, 1 teaspoon yeast, 1/4 teaspoon baking soda, 1/2 pound of fresh mozzarella, 1/2 pound of sweet cheese. This was actually super hard to find. I ended up having to order it online and it had to be shipped next day air with a cold pack, and to be honest, it wasn't worth it. This had such a mild flavor that it got overpowered by everything else, so I think you'd be better off just doubling your mozzarella. 1/2 cup walnuts. I would actually double this if I made it again. 2 teaspoons cinnamon, and 1 3/4 cups of warm water. We'll start by adding the water, milk, both flours, baking powder, 1/2 tablespoon sugar, and yeast into our blender Spinderella. Blend for about 10 seconds, then scrape it down, and blend for another 10 seconds. You don't want to overmix it. Now leave the batter to rest for 20 minutes while we mix up the filling. We're going to add our walnuts to the food processor, Cuisinart Garfunkel, and run it on low for just a few seconds to chop them up a bit. Now add in the mozzarella and the sweet cheese, which I've diced up into chunks, and run it on low for a few more minutes until all the cheese is fairly well shredded up. Don't forget to scrape the sides, and yes, I realize I should have used the larger bowl of Garfunkel here, but I was trying to film 2 episodes in one day and needed the larger bowl for the other one and didn't want to have to wash it in between shots. But hey, you get to learn from all of my mistakes. Now, just dump all of that into a medium bowl and add the remaining 2 tablespoons of sugar and cinnamon and mix well. Okay, back to the batter. Now that it's rested, we're going to add in the baking soda and 1 more tablespoon of water and blend for just 5 seconds. We've heated our griddle pan to medium-low heat, and we're going to pour out 4 pancakes. This first batch was a little small. You should go about 50% bigger than this. Now, this is the hard part. You don't flip these. You cook them until they are just barely dry on top. If you undercook them, they're still gooey and will stick to the towel. If you overcook them, then they're too dry to properly seal after we stuff them. Just be patient with yourself. If they won't seal, you can always bake them rather than fry them, which I had to do with about half my batch. Once the pancakes are just barely dry on top, flip them uncooked side down onto a clean dish towel to cool. Don't let them sit too long though, or they'll dry out and won't seal. I think this would have been easier with 3 people, 1 making pancakes, 1 stuffing, and 1 frying, but that would have been rather difficult for cameraman to capture. This second batch is a much better size. Okay, now to stuff. Fold the pancakes in half and pinch them together, starting about 1/3 of the way up and all the way to the bottom. This leaves a sort of funnel shape. Now scoop in some of the cheese, making sure to stuff it down into the already sealed section. Don't overfill it either. I think I did that with a few of these. Finally, just pinch the top part together and hope it holds. I did try a little water for the ones that weren't holding, since that usually works with pastry, but it didn't really help in this case. I refer you to my earlier advice. Don't overcook, don't let them dry out, and if all else fails, just bake them. For those that can be fried, we've got Frying Adams heated to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 C, and we're going to fry them for 2 to 3 minutes or until crispy. Then remove to a paper towel lined plate. And that's our chips. Next up is Step 2, the cheese. Once the Qatayef comes out of the fryer, you're going to want to immediately drench them in some simple syrup, which will be our cheese. And for that you need some sugar and some water. You can also add some lemon juice or rose water for extra flavor, but those are optional. Now, I almost always have simple syrup on hand for mixed drinks, and I have a bit too much at present, so I don't want to waste ingredients by making some up. but I will link to some videos that can show you how, and the next time I do make some, I'll do a short for you guys. So that's our cheese. All we need now is step 3, the toppings. For our toppings, we've got some of the leftover stuffing, some more walnuts, and finally just some cinnamon and sugar. Nothing to do here, so let's skip to the good part. Step 4, let's eat. Okay, let's move fast while these are still hot. Get them on the plate, add a few spoonfuls of the syrup, some walnuts, some cheese, and a sprinkle of cinnamon and sugar. We're skipping the wheel again since my filming schedule has been clashing with Oldson's work schedule, and he hasn't got to taste test for a while. He said these were pretty good, but needed more flavor and sweetness, especially in the filling. Jimmy Buffett, who is clearly not the source of my sweet tooth, thought they were perfect as is. Well, that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a like and please consider subscribing if you want to see more nacho videos. If you have an idea for a future video, you can leave a comment below or tag me on the site previously known as Twitter. I'm at NachoProblemsYT. I've also linked my Blue Sky below, but you won't find me on Facebook, Instagram, or Threads. If you're looking to steal my apron, well, that's nacho merch, but you can get your own at a link in the description. Now, my vehicle registration is expiring in a few weeks, so I guess I'm spending a whole afternoon at the DMV. But I hope for your sake that's not your problem. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.